So let's try to figure out what to make of the development.
Okay.
Obviously, on some level, it's just a sign of the times, right? Transfer waivers, NIL deals have created this world where student athletes are just moving around more than ever, quite literally more than ever. PJ Haggerty is not the first All-American to enter the transfer portal in search of a bigger payday, in search of a new place, and he will not be the last. But it's hard not to wonder if this is really what he had in mind when he reportedly rejected a deal worth $3 million to return to the University of Memphis for a second season. Here's a question for you.
Okay.
PJ Haggerty entered the transfer portal on April 17th. Do you believe he would have accepted this outcome on April 17th?
No.
I don't either.
No, I think the likelihood is, I mean, I wonder if he was first hoping for better news out of the NBA draft, because he obviously took this process, and when Memphis started signing guys, I think the writing was on the wall with, well, it looks like they're moving on. And you had talked about this in previous weeks, like it looks like the University of Memphis could be moving on because they're signing a bunch of guys.
And I've been asked by some, was it smart for Penny Hardaway to move on? I want to be clear, I don't think Memphis is better without PJ Haggerty.
Sure.
I mean, that would be a silly thing to say.
He was an All-American, right.
But you have to make decisions as you're navigating these waters. And I don't fault Penny Hardaway for making the decisions that he made. I think he handled this the right way.
I think he did too. And so I wonder if he knew what he was going to hear out of the NBA draft combine, I think that he probably ends up just staying at Memphis for the money that was presented to him.
I don't know if he ever stays at Memphis. I just believe this. On April 17th, when he entered the transfer portal, I don't believe if you would have told him that minute, let me tell you how this is going to end. You're going to sign with Kansas State for less than the money Memphis is already offering. I don't think he would have thought that was the way this is going to play out. This can't possibly be what he had in mind. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's a mistake either. You know, there's a scenario where this could end up being the best decision of PJ Haggerty's life. I don't know that that's true, but it could be. I mean, like, he's going to play for Jerome Tang. Jerome Tang is the 2023 Naismith National Coach of the Year. Great coach. Awesome guy. If I had a son who were a Division I basketball player, I mean this sincerely, Jerome Tang is the type of man I would want my son playing for. I would be very comfortable sending my son to Kansas State to play basketball for Jerome Tang. And Kansas State is a fun Big 12 program that was just in the Elite Eight of the NCAA tournament 2 years ago. Memphis ain't been in the Elite Eight since John Calipari was here. Jerome Tang did have KSU in the Elite Eight just 2 years ago. So before, if you're a Memphis fan or a Memphian or just a college basketball observer getting your jokes off, just before you do that, understand that if the worst or dumbest, because you see these things get thrown around, decision PJ Haggerty ever makes is joining a Big 12 program for more than $2 million, he will have lived a better life than most of us.
Right.
All right? I made all sorts of decisions after my junior year of college. They were not all great.
Right.
Okay.
Same.
If this is his stupid decision, he'll be just fine. That said, it does seem like he left money on the table. Possibly lowered his odds of playing in the NCAA tournament again and sacrificed the chance to become just the second two-time consensus All-American in Tiger basketball history. He did sacrifice that stuff, or at least possibly sacrifice that stuff. So I do understand on some level why some people are scratching their heads. Like Keith Lee was a 3-time consensus All-American for the Tigers, but there's never been another multi-time consensus All-American. Not Larry, not Penny, not Lorenzen, not anybody other than Keith Lee. And PJ Haggerty would have entered next season with a realistic chance to join Keith Lee as one of only 2 people who had ever done that at the University of Memphis, and by extension would have set himself up to have his number and his name hanging in the rafters.
You know, somebody made a great point yesterday about just this era of college basketball where you have a lot of guys that are playing for multi-schools. And, you know, will those guys look back one day, years from now, and think, man, I wish I would have done it differently, because there are guys that we celebrate with this program and programs all over the country that just were fan favorites because they were there. They were good players for their college basketball team for a long time. I wonder if I'm not saying he will. I'm not, but I just thought it was a good point someone made. Like, will some of these guys just look back with regret? Like, man, I know I was chasing the money, but if all things are close to equal, like, would I have not rather just, stayed somewhere that I just loved and could remember the rest of my life?
Maybe. I think it's probably easier, and I think you're referencing a Mark Giannotto tweet, because I saw the same tweet.
It was Mark. Yep, it was Mark.
I think it's probably easier for people my age and your age and Mark's age to drill down on that.
Yep. It's different now.
I don't know that you even think of that type of stuff when you're 22 years old.
That's right. It's something you're going to might look back on later in life, but at 20, it's not in your head. Yeah.
You ready? I'm 48 years old. That would matter to me.
Mm-hmm. It would matter to me.
I don't know that it would matter to me when I was 22.
Yeah.
But 100% it would matter to me now. Chris Douglas Roberts, imagine he came to Memphis, played 1 year, was an All-American, and then transferred to the Big 12. He would not come back here and be honored the way he was honored this past season.
That's right.
You are giving that up. When Hunter Dickinson left Michigan, he was giving that up. Mm-hmm. PJ Haggerty has gone from somebody who could have mattered in Memphis forever and had literally his name in the rafters.
Yes.
To that's all off the table. He will go down as somebody who played 4 years of college basketball at 4 different places and not really matter that much anywhere historically.
Right.
Perhaps that doesn't mean anything to him. Like, whatever. But he might go, okay, who cares?
Sure.
All right? And that's fine. But I do think it would I do think it's the type of thing that would matter to me. I will stop short of saying what other people are saying, which is that he just left Memphis to join an inferior team, because that's not clear to me. Like, right now, Kansas State is 44th at BartTorvik.com. Memphis is 71st. That would suggest KSU is expected to be better than Memphis next season. But 44th at Torvik also doubles as 9th in the Big 12.
Yeah.
So only 7 Big 12 teams made the NCAA tournament last season. The team that finished 44th at Torvik last season did not make the NCAA tournament. So this might be true. He might be joining a better team on paper, but one that has a more difficult path to the NCAA tournament, because in the Big 12, you're dealing with some monsters every game. And in the AAC, there's quite literally not another good team in the league. I'm not trying to pile on, but like there's
not right now, at least.
You don't have to beat
know about.
You ready?
Yeah.
To win the American Athletic Conference, you don't have to beat a good team ever, because there aren't any good teams in it. So it's possible he is going to have a harder time making the NCAA tournament for the second straight year at Kansas State than he would have had at Memphis, but it's debatable, I guess. I guess before we get to Roy Hibbert, let me make this one point. We could circle back to it later if you want. Mm-hmm. What would concern me I'll just say what concerns me. I don't even need to qualify this. Mm-hmm. I was going to say what would concern me if I were somebody who cares about Memphis, but I am somebody who cares about Memphis. Mm-hmm. I'm a Memphis graduate. I grew up caring about that program. I still care about it and want good things for it. What would concern me is this had never happened before. And on some level, it can be a sign of the times. Yay, players are just moving around, chasing money and whatever, but it had never happened to you before. And when we hear about Yaxel leaving UAB to go to the Big Ten, we don't even blink. We're like, well, of course. I'm like, why? He's at an AAC program. He doesn't want to play in this league anymore. And he can get a lot of money to play in a real league. Like, why wouldn't you do that? We don't even blink when Yaxel does it. Should we be blinking this much when PJ Haggerty does it? Once upon a time, Memphis was just different than everything else. Mm-hmm. You don't leave Memphis. And it doesn't matter if Memphis is CUSA or the AAC. You don't leave Memphis. Well, this league is a real drag on the program right now. It is costing them in attendance. It is costing them in...
Just is.
It just is. I don't ever forget this. This past year, they had a top 25 team just about the whole season. It was coached by the most beloved graduate of that university, perhaps ever, and led by an All-American guard, and nobody came to the games. Nobody cared. I don't want to say nobody cared. Like, people still cared if they won or lost, but people didn't show up. Because you don't want to watch games against San Antonio and East Carolina and
No, this
Charlotte and whatever. And if you as a fan understand that, how crazy is it if PJ Haggerty just said this? I love Penny, love my time at Memphis, but I have an opportunity to play in the Big 12 in sold-out arenas every night against quality competition every night, be on big stages every week, Big Monday on Monday nights, as opposed to what? Play nothing but mid-major opponents from January through March in little bitty arenas and whatever in front of nobody. Sunday afternoon game on ESPN2 opposite the NFL. Nah. Like, that would scare me if I'm a Memphis, because this ain't a money thing. You had the money.
Right.
He just decided he wanted to play basketball at a higher level, it appears, in a better conference on some level. On some level. I'm not saying it's any one thing, but that's got to be part of this. And that would bother me if I were a Memphis fan. Is our league now costing us All-Americans? It had never happened before, but it happened yesterday.
The Gary Parrish Show, live weekdays at 10 a.m.